Hey guys, this is GWS here. Guess what time it is? I had a sniff and it smelled nasty. So what does that mean? It means we are diving into some more secular bullshit. Alright, this isn't so much about Kyle's dumbass remarks because he does literally no statistical analysis of what he is talking about. Basically, this is about an NBC News article here. U.S. Muslims more accepting of homosexuality than white evangelicals. Now, you're going to see why that language is incorrect at first, but what Kyle attributes it to is, this is a direct quote from him: secular liberalism beats fundamentalism. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. Like, he goes on to elaborate a little bit, like, fast food and all that stuff. As if fundamentalists don't consume fast food, don't participate in the capitalist system, as if they live like monks or something. It's pretty retarded shit. You know what I mean? But here's the thing about Kyle. Is like, and the study in general, and really, this is part of the fake news stuff that Kyle is parroting, and that's all he does. That's why I don't do a lot of videos on him anymore, because it's pretty much just him parroting a news article and slapping his lips together to pretend like he's forming a coherent point that's different than what they said. And it's like, what's the point? But for this, this is part of the media. This is what we talk about when we say fake news. Fake news isn't just about deliberately post an article that is incorrect. Fake news is about deliberately misrepresenting papers and studies. So, let's go look at this and let's see why this language is horrible language, and why, if you use this as a fundamental, you will be led down a wrong path. Like Americans overall, Muslims now more accepting of homosexuality. More than what is, I guess, over time, but the media seems to say more accepting than Christians. But see, here's the thing. Now, if you look at the Muslim categories here, you will see that there's no, like, this is just U.S. Muslims in general, 52% for 2017. And the only indication you really get about fundamentalism is very important and less important, 47-62. And then you get slightly more people who think religion is important here. But here's the big thing: U.S. Muslims versus white evangelicals, a category of Protestants. So you are comparing all Muslims with a single race sect of Christianity. And that's going to lead to some biased numbers, and here's why. If you look at Protestants, 52% for 2016. Not even the same date, but we'll even ignore that fact. And then you get to Catholics, 66%. So Protestants are equal. Catholics are Catholics are 66%. Therefore, you can conclude that Christians are more accepting than Muslims in general. But even more so, if you look at the white mainline for 2016, these are your average everyday Christians. They're not to say evangelicals aren't important. It's just a different sect. I'm not an evangelical myself. 76%. The most accepting of any group on here, I believe. At least pertaining to religion. Yeah, it's the most accepting. 76% of white mainline Christians, and then you get 50% of black Protestants, which I guess that includes black evangelicals. That's probably dragging that number down. But my point is this, is, like, you can cherry pick any set of data. And this is one question. And again, this goes back to the fake news, because this is a 12-page study. This was a huge survey Pew Research did on the pulse of Muslims. And it's fascinating. If you look at a lot of these numbers, you could see, like, the percentage of immigrants, percentage that think global extremism in the name of Islam. And then you have one on page 6. This is really important, too, because this goes to the core of the problem. Muslims versus Islam. And you will not see this in the mainstream media. You will not see it on secular bullshit. You will not see it on the Young Turks or any media. Is the percentage of Muslims who think that Islam and democracy are not compatible. 59%. 59% of U.S. Muslims think that Islam is not compatible. So what this is telling me is this, is that the Muslims who are here, because only a select group of people gets to come here, because our immigration system has huge problems, particularly with our workforce and all that. But the one thing we do a good job of here that liberals want us to do a less good job of is asking people to assimilate within certain limits. And I think we should do better at it, but we do better than the rest of the world, at least most of the rest of the world. There's Asian countries who do better than us, but better than Europeans. And because we do better, we have some of the most liberal Muslims, because, when you come here as an immigrant, you better be accepting. Because you're stepping foot out of your country to make a better life for yourself, and you are going to somebody else's country. So you're pretty much trading your livelihood, your culture, for a better life and for a better culture, except, whatever reason you're coming here. And that's the thing, we do a better job. And so you get numbers like this where, yeah, Islam and democracy are not compatible. Islam, do not let the media convince you otherwise. Do not let that Twerp convince you otherwise. Islam is a cancer on this world, and it must be reformed. Or it's just, it needs to be left where it is to rot. And we should stop trying to make Islam into something it's not. The only people who can do that are Muslims who get a better interpretation, because, I'll tell you what, and I'll say this to any Muslim, whatever. God, Allah, whatever you want to call him, is not hateful, does not hate non-believers, does not give you permission to conquer other cultures ever since the death of Jesus Christ. You are not permitted to kill people, and that's that. All the stuff in the Quran, a lot of the stuff is garbage. Plain and simple. Complete and utter garbage. Islam was founded as a warmongering religion. That's what it centers around. Islam it transcends religion. It is more an ideology, a political system, a guidebook for a particular society that was based on conquest through the spread of religion and through conquest, through traditional conquest, such as through troops and such. But here's the thing. Until liberals and Muslims, even moderate Muslims, are willing to admit that the religion, listen to that word because you don't hear it enough. And this is what Sam Harris is saying. And Sam Harris is a dumbass, but he gets this point correct. The religion of Islam is toxic to the world. Again, I'll repeat it. Religion. Not Muslims. Because there are Muslims who are good people who may be misled or will not practice for whatever reason. But it poisons their minds with hate because that is what the Quran preaches. Islam must be reformed. I don't know by who, I don't know how, but we have to recognize it as a problem. All people have to recognize it, especially Muslims. And I'm glad to see that. But anyhow, whoa, that was a tangent. Anyhow, there's a lot of other interesting things here. Let's look at this. Hard work leads to success. This is an interesting one. Muslims believe hard work leads to success. The U.S. general public is a little more skeptical of that point. Let's see, what does the 8 say? Immigrant strength in the U.S. Well, most immigrants, if you look, are immigrants. Like, it was like 18% or something that were not immigrants or something. In contrast to the U.S., Muslims prefer bigger government. That kind of goes with immigration. You know, but here's the point. And, you know, I went off on that tangent, but the main point of this I'm trying to get to, I guess, is that, you know, stop reporting on one page of a study. Why don't you talk about the whole thing? Get the grand perspective of Muslims out there and stop cherry picking 2 numbers from a graph. And I seen the right wing do it too. Breitbart. What did Breitbart do? Breitbart takes one section of one graph and says Americans are tired of liberal extremism. I'd pull up the article if I knew I could find it instantly. But what Breitbart did was they took a slice of slice of Pew Research. They edited out one of these little graphs, and then they put that. And what did they edit out? They edited out the fact that Americans are tired of conservative extremism too. And what they're saying is they don't want less liberalism, they want compromise. And that is what people want, that is what I want. So, and this goes to everybody. You know, stop with the fucking team shit. Excuse my language, but stop it. You know, everybody. And I say that knowing most of it comes from the left, but the right wing's got to stop it too, because if we don't have a media we can trust, here's the thing about the media. The media is complete garbage, but there's only so many places you can trust, and that list of places is dwindling down as political polarization increases. You are forced to support a team or get out. And that's what we're facing. We're seeing entities we once thought were neutral being pulled to the left or pulled to the right. You know, like 538. 538 pretty much became a Clinton campaign poller. You know, nothing but Clinton on there. You know, and 538 used to be one of the most regarded polling places, but they went full liberal. And they're still full liberal. And there's only so much information you can get outside of the media. It's like, you got the government. You know, the government's always going to be pro-government, so it's like, you can trust them for half of things. You can trust them somewhat on data collection. You can trust the BLS. You can trust a few things. Pew, I'd say Pew and Gallup are your more trusted. Gallup slightly right-leaning, Pew slightly left, but they're both trustworthy. I can look at a Pew article, and 9 times out of 10, I trust their data. I may not always agree with their methodology, but I trust their data because they are built on that credibility. But most places, you look at places like PPP, which is just designed for just booby traps against conservatives, all that. It's just, we got to stop it. We have to start being intellectually curious again. Like we used to be. Like, and this is the sad part about that too. Back in the 1950s, you had barely double-digit graduation rates from college. You had barely half of people graduating high school. You had tons and tons of intellectual curiosity, people, do-it-yourselfers, all that. Because people wanted to make something of themselves. And so they looked into things. They looked into how to do things, how to improve themselves, how to create better products, services for themselves, for others, and it eventually grew into businesses and such. And it's like today you have over a third who has a bachelor's or higher. It's like up to 90% or something that graduates high school, 80 or 90, something like that. It's really high. And both of those are the highest it's ever been in this country. And yet you just see so little intellectual curiosity. This team backing a team. Your team Democrat, team Republican, team liberal, team conservative, team libertarian, anything that doesn't fit your narrative, you just throw that out. You just delete it like Breitbart did. Or you just report on one page of a 12-page study like NBC News did. And I'm tired of it. We have to get out of that. Otherwise, where are we going to get information? How are we even going to trust the information we get? Are we just going to stop looking at information and just start either trying to live in a vacuum of our own lives or whatever and just let the government be autonomous and slowly take away our rights and not being able to do anything about it because we can't even agree on what's going on, what the justification is, X person gets accused of something, is this a witch hunt? Is this fabricated evidence? Is this real evidence? Is it, we just, I don't know. I guess we just have to stop kissing the asses of whatever political identity we belong to and just start thinking again. Thinking as in not taking a list of left and right wing talking points. And yeah, I know I'm repeating myself, but I don't care. We need to get our shit together. That's all I gotta say. Anyhow, thanks for listening, guys. God bless.